Stream health is good. And there we go. Alrighty, we are live. All right, TYT Sports Late Night. Get your whiskey out, because I do. Myself, Rick Strom, as you all know. Britton Harden as well is here. Britton, clap it up. Clap it up for yourself. Why not? Britton, my friend. Firstly, it's a pleasure to talk to you on these airwaves. What the fuck are you doing? It's a pleasure to talk with you on these airwaves once again. How the hell are you? Catch me up on life. What the hell is going on with you?
Rick, everything is good. Can't complain. I'm blessed.
Hashtag
Hashtag blessed. Just moved into a new place, so I don't have my Muhammad Ali, posters and paraphernalia up there as are used to, but I just kind of threw together a little makeshift situation for you guys to enjoy while we talk about this great subject for tonight.
Now, I want everybody to also take into account that no matter where you are, if you're watching, we appreciate it. We wanted to squeeze in as much as we possibly could on Conor and Floyd, and then also, of course, with Conor and Paulie and the savvy way that the video was released to paint Conor in the most positive light possible. There's so many topics that we want to get to inside of just the fight. So whatever questions you guys have, whatever questions that you might have for Britton, as he is by far the most knowledgeable boxing analyst I have ever encountered, and also just a fighting analyst in general. So please send us your thoughts. I'm going to be monitoring the comments section. Already we have a few. Walker White says, what's up? What's up, White Walker? Shayon says hello, among many others. So keep the comments coming. Firstly, with what we saw, Britton, with the Paulie and Conor video being released, he wanted rounds 1 through 12, and then Dana, again, a very, very savvy move, releases an edited version, as Paulie put it, which is accurate, showing Conor in a very, very positive light. Now, Paulie went on the MMA Hour and said, those were rounds 11 and 12, and I was gassed, and I was tired, and I wasn't ready to go 12. Nonetheless, your thoughts on the culmination of the Paulie spectacle, and then also the releasing of the video.
I think that Dana White is an evil genius. And when I say that, I obviously go into detail. No one is promoting this fight like Paulie Malignaggi is promoting this fight. Not Floyd, not Conor, not Dana. They have their own built-in mouthpiece with Paulie Malignaggi. And I think that, I don't think that the whole thing was a master plan of Dana White's to say, look, we're going to screw Paulie, and then he's going to go on this rant, and everywhere he's going to go talking about this. But he obviously knows that Paulie Malignaggi had a very healthy boxing following, right? And from the very beginning of this entire promotion, the UFC fan, the MMA fan, the Conor McGregor fan, they were in favor of this fight because they feel like Conor McGregor has a shot. And if they don't feel like he has a shot, they at least get to see this man in a different, light than they have before. It's a spectacle. The boxing fan, the purist,
hates this fight, right?
They hate this fight. They feel like it's a disrespect for Conor McGregor to be in the same ring as Floyd Mayweather. They think that it's just another money grab. They think that it's way too much money for them to be spending, on one fight that is perceivably lopsided. And they know, what Dana knows is that Paulie has a very healthy boxing following. He has a millennial following of, be it young men or young women who love this sport. And if he says, go and watch this fight because of X, Y, and Z, they'll probably go and watch the fight. Now, they invite him into training camp. He leaves.
Allow me to interject. Do you believe that Dana invited him, or do you believe that Team Conor wanted him?
Oh, no, I believe that Team Conor wanted him. Okay. And I think that Dana White is basically taking lemonade out of the lemons that Paulie is giving them when he left the camp. Paulie is saying, show the video, show the footage, show the knockdown. Okay, I'm going to doctor this footage up and I'm going to release it. You're going to go on a rant and you're going to promote this week for me, 2 weeks outside of this fight. You know, I mean, I don't think that they could have. The from everything that I'm hearing, the ticket sales aren't doing so well on this fight. I
That's
think that they,
correct.
what I'm hearing, that they price it a little high, and you got this human hype machine going around saying, you know, Conor's gonna lose because of X, Y, and Z, and after this, I want to fight him. He's formally, you know, challenged Conor to a fight after this, and you got this media scrum that's going on, like, you know, smelling like blood smelling sharks. I mean, like
Shark
shark.
smelling blood.
You go on YouTube and that's all you see.
Right. So I guess my question is, and knowing everything that you said, and obviously I agree with it, is that, first off, to your point about Paulie wanting a fight now, it seems like it may have been a little calculated for Paulie to get a payday. And I know that he's already said many times, for example, when he fought Juan Baby Bull Diaz in Houston, Texas. And he, even though we all know he won that fight, afterwards, when it was a decision win for Baby Bull Diaz, again, a fight that we believe he did not win going to the 12th round and then ultimately a decision, he said, the only reason, without me doing a New York accent, the only reason I do this is for a payday. Boxing is full of shit. I do it because I get paid, yada, yada. This fight would get him paid and would set him up. But what I don't like, and this is just the nature of the sport, is that now you have all these arms grabbing for Conor. You have Nate Diaz grabbing for Conor. You had Floyd grabbing for Conor. You have Paulie Malignaggi grabbing for Conor. You had Jose Aldo grabbing for Conor. Rafael Dos Anjos is also grabbing for Conor. Everybody is grabbing for Conor, and everybody's following the bag, right? Everybody's following the cash bag that is Conor McGregor. So now, while you're saying that, my mind is racing like, wait a minute. Even though Paulie accepted it, and even though they shunned him from camp, it seems like it could have been calculated as well. And you could tell me if you disagree. It could seem like it's calculated as well that Paulie took the chance to go in and now outside of it wants a fight with Conor. And that could be part of the reason why he took the camp, is because he knows he could win if he trains his ass off for 12 rounds to get himself in condition and then also face Conor McGregor.
I hear what you're saying, but I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I don't think that, and this is just my experience, you know, sparring with guys, turning down opportunities to spar with guys. You're not going to spar with someone out of shape if you see a future fight with yourself and that person down the line. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that when Paulie initially made the challenge to Conor, he says, you know, look, you want to fight our sport's top dog, why don't you fight somebody on my level first and let's see what you do. Then he retires. He gets the call to go to spar. He was overweight, out of shape. You can tell. You can see it. Fresh off of a plane. You know, let him tell it. You know, 24 hours off of a cross country flight. He shouldn't have been in the ring. Let him tell it. Based off of his skills and his know-how to survive is the only reason why he was able to, you know, kind of deal with Conor, who had already been several weeks into a training camp, cutting weight much bigger than him. I don't think that he was that strategic. I think that he genuinely went into this training camp thinking, look, this is the biggest spectacle that my sport has seen in a very long time. I'm retired. I don't have the pressure of cutting weight, having to prepare for a fighter, having to take an entire training camp. I can actually go and help this person who thinks that they're going to come and, you know, stand before our sport's top dog and actually compete with no boxing experience. Let me take part in this big event. So no matter which way the cookie crumbles, my name will have something to do with it.
So it wasn't calculated. It wasn't calculated by Paulie. It was a way for him to just get in with a guy and see exactly what he's thinking about a potential fight with this person.
Well, everybody knows Paulie is, you know, Paulie says it all the time, and you have to commend him for this. As you get older, you may lose speed, you may lose power, but your boxing knowledge and your boxing IQ go up because of, you know, just the experience and the amount of
Hopkins.
Exactly. But after a certain point, your body physically hits a wall where your brain can compute and communicate to your body what you should do, but your body just can't perform because of the age. Mm-hmm. And he feels like he, you know, in his last few performances, he was calculated enough to know what to do with Sean Porter and Danny Garcia and these other guys, but his body just couldn't withstand what these younger guys were bringing to the table. So he figured bringing his intelligent boxing brain, his his elevated boxing IQ, and imputing it into Conor McGregor, who was a physical specimen if you look at him, and saying, listen, these are the traps that Floyd Mayweather is going to plant for you. This is the stance you want to take as a southpaw. This is where you don't want to find yourself. He figured that if he could impute some of that boxing knowledge, Conor McGregor would turn out a better fight. Because right now, you ask me and you, if I ask you who you think is going to win, I haven't asked you yet, but I'm pretty sure I know.
We all know.
I'm pretty sure you know.
Yep.
And if you ask most of the boxing public, they're all siding one way.
Right.
So I think he had genuine intentions for wanting to go into this camp.
Okay, so knowing that, but also knowing the result that we saw with the video that was put out on, again, Instagram is 57 seconds, okay? 12 rounds is 36 minutes. So it was the smallest of, it wasn't even a full round. It was the smallest of smallest sample sizes that we could possibly get for anything containing Conor McGregor and Paulie Malignaggi. And the thing about Paulie, going back to the thing he said about post Juan Baby Bull Diaz and that the loss that he had that should have never been when it went to the cards, it was a corrupt decision. And I'll say it to the day I die, it was a corrupt decision. But nonetheless, he's always been very honest. He's been forthright. He's been candid. So knowing his track record, when he says, I was tired in 11 and 12 and I wasn't in shape and what they edited is what they edited and it showed Conor in a positive light, it sort of holds water with me. Yet, as I look at that video, he was doing the Philly shell defense. So it tells me when he got hit with a straight left that he was trying to mimic Floyd Mayweather. So not only was he not in shape, but he wasn't necessarily doing everything to the best of his abilities because he was trying to be a different fighter. So with all that being said, when you look at the video, did Conor look good or was it an edited version of Conor looking good?
Well, listen, footage is footage. And they say pictures are worth 1,000 words, then video is worth 1,000,000 words. So in the edited footage that we saw, Conor looked damn good. He was giving Paulie the flux. My thing is, if Instagram will allow you to post upwards of, 57, 58, 59 to a minute, however many seconds up to a minute, then why not show the full minute leading up to those events? And why
it
not
wouldn't make Conor look good, Britt? You know the answer to that.
Well, but that's my point.
Yeah.
My point is, just to give you a dual side to this. Right. Did he look good in the footage that we saw? He looked damn good because he's mopping the floor with Paulie essentially, and then he got a questionable but knockdown in that footage.
Was it a knockdown?
I've gone back and forth about this, and I have to say that it was. And the reason why is because a punch landed, and what it looked like to me, I perceived that Paulie was already off balance, whether he's off balance from a punch previous, whether he was just disoriented, or whatever the case is, he was off balance, probably coming out of the shoulder roll, and it looked like he caught a punch in the temple on his way up that sent him on his way down. And in a regular boxing match, that would have been called a knockdown from a punch. We've seen so many questionable knockdowns in fights, Rick. Like me and you have sat down and watched boxing on your couch, my couch, whatever, and we're like, that's not a knockdown. Think about when Shane Mosley knocked down Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was on his way down. Shane Mosley looked like, from our vantage point, was a push, but his glove made contact with Manny on his way down. So Kenny Bates, I believe, was the referee, called it a knockdown. And a lot of people didn't agree with it, but technically the referee called it a knockdown. So from the vantage point that we saw, it looked like a very questionable knockdown, but he went down as a result of a punch.
But there was more evidence to point to that it was a knockdown than it was more of a push. Because we saw that Conor's hand kept going on, and you could comment on this better than I can, but his hand kept going on the back of Paulie's head. Now, obviously, that's something that's going to be regulated. It's going to be a violation. He's going to be warned many, many times. And we already know because of, I believe Leonard Ellerby said there's something in the contract that states that if Conor is to do any MMA antics aside from boxing, he's going to be penalized. So we already know that he can't get away with anything MMA, and he can't necessarily get away with anything behind the head, as we learned from that. Yet, is there anything tactically that you learned from watching the video in terms of Conor throwing a punch and maybe where he leaves himself susceptible?
Conor does a lot of things wrong in that video. And I think that if he doesn't have the capability to overwhelm Floyd Mayweather, which he won't, in that capacity, he won't be effective. What I saw in that video was that he's still rooted in his MMA combat style. And what I mean by that is typically when a fighter sees Floyd Mayweather go into that role, they back up a little bit because they want to create a little bit of distance to take a shot at his head because they feel like they know where his head is going to be. In that video, we repeatedly see Paulie Malignaggi think that Conor's going to fall for that because Paulie is used to fighting boxers. So when Paulie goes into the shell, he's used to fighters leaving him a little bit of space to try and get off a crisp punch. In MMA, you rush guys in position. You want to grab them and you want to hold them down so you can punch. And what we saw was Paulie going to the shoulder roll, Conor grab his head, keep it in place, hold and hit, which isn't allowed in boxing. So if Floyd Mayweather is smart, which we know he is, he's probably already going to start some type of petition to say, watch out for him holding behind the head, watch out for doing this, so that preemptively going into the fight, whoever the referee is going to be watching for that exact move. And anytime Conor does it, he's going to get penalized for it.
Is there something, I know that we were discussing this when it came out, I believe it was on Saturday, it was Saturday night, but I called you immediately when it came out. And the one thing that I noticed is, obviously with a lot of MMA fighters, they hold their hands low. It's just the nature of the business unless they're a defensive first fighter. And especially with Conor, he will hold his hands criminally low, especially when, if this fight even gets into the 11th and 12th rounds, as Paulie states the video did, and where it was edited from, were the later rounds. What I noticed is because Floyd is so fast, quick on his feet, and also with his defense, and I stated this to you, just to reiterate one more time, is that I do believe that with Conor's hands being so low and him being so desperate to land a punch on Floyd, he's going to overthrow his left hand, which is obviously his power punch. He's a southpaw. Floyd circling out to his right, Conor's left, and just hitting him once with a straight right. Now, we know that Floyd is not necessarily the most powerful puncher as he is right now. He hasn't had a knockout since, I believe, Victor Ortiz, which was, what, 2012, 2013, I believe, when he wore those horrendous trunks.
That those Halloween editions.
Yeah, it looked like a fucking Jacqueline, like on Halloween. It was terrible. But, nonetheless, circling out and hitting him with a straight right, I think he can drop Conor. Do you disagree?
Oh, yeah, no. I think that Conor doesn't think that Floyd can prepare for the angles that he's going to present to Floyd. And this is true. In the same vein, Conor can't prepare for the angles that Floyd Mayweather is going to show him on fight night either. And I think that Conor McGregor, because he's so much older, because he's so much younger and because he's so much bigger, he's admitted, I'll be 170 pounds on the night, and you've never seen me have problems with a little guy like that. Everyone says that about Floyd Mayweather. He's too small. He doesn't hit hard. I'm going to walk him down. I'm going to pressure him. I'm going to go to his body. Without doubt, Conor thinks that he's going to stand in the middle of the ring with Floyd for a couple of rounds, and then he's going to start pressuring him, and he's going to overcome and force Floyd to capitulate, essentially. And I just don't see that happening, because if professional boxers can't prepare for the angles and they don't have sparring partners, adequate sparring partners to prepare themselves for Floyd, then how are MMA fighters, and he said this himself, Conor McGregor did, that he has the same trainers, the same coaches, and the same sparring partners that he's had since day one.
Mm-hmm. John
and I don't understand how the same training partners and sparring partners that you've had are going to prepare you for Floyd Mayweather.
Well, I mean, I guess I not to be a devil's advocate, but I think I understand why. It's because those people got him to this situation that he's in right now. They helped him along the way. So he wants to stay loyal even though he's been in mixed martial arts. And I understand that boxing is one facet of MMA, which is striking. But there's also so many other variables that go into it. You're just touching the tip of the iceberg. If you say that it's just striking, it's the only real correlation that I can think of off the top of my head between MMA and boxing. But I understand why he would keep the same camp. It's because this camp entrusts him, believes in him, got him to where he is. His coach, John Kavanaugh, is one of the best as well. So, and he is mainly a stand-up fighter. Like if you notice in the Nate Diaz fight, the second fight, he didn't get tired in 2.5 rounds. He conditioned himself much better, and he also didn't take the bait to go to the mat, which is obviously where he lost. He almost threw in the towel, which Floyd says when he tapped. So,
tap out.
Yeah,
tap out.
So I guess I understand why he would keep the same camp. Now, obviously, would it benefit him to bring in like a Virgil Hunter or anybody else? Fuck yeah, absolutely it would. But
no, I don't disagree with you with his coaches. His coaches.
You don't think he should have brought in a boxing-centric guy?
Listen,
trainer?
In a perfect world, he would have. But I understand what you're saying is he's remaining loyal, and he also criticized an MMA fighter in the past. I can't remember who it was for switching a camp. There was some fighter that he was fighting and he was preparing, and I remember him saying that there's snakes in the grass and these guys are disloyal, so on and so forth. I remember him saying that. So for him, it's a point of pride. The people who were, started from the bottom and now we're here, that he really means that, and I respect that. I would have loved to see him, if you're not going to bring a boxing coach in, which he really would have needed, I think that it would have been crucial for him to keep Paulie in the camp and keep him happy somehow, because Paulie does have an excellent boxing brain. Right. Now, that being said, my original point was the sparring partners, the striking partners that you've used to prepare you for MMA bouts aren't going to be able to prepare you for Floyd Mayweather. And he said, and maybe it could just be, clickbait and something for media people to grab onto and talk about, and maybe he is bringing in boxing guys, but he said that he's not bringing in any new sparring partners. He said the sparring partners that he has are the same guys that he's had, on the way up. And that I don't agree with. So what would be your solution? My solution is you blow up every fighter who is an orthodox, who remotely fights in the Philly shell style, who remotely is a great technical boxer. You call them up and you invite them to come and train with you. If you're making $100 million for this fight, then you can shell out $20,000. You can shell out a couple thousand to $1 million to get you a nice solid training camp full of great sparring partners who are boxers. Striking in MMA is different from boxing, because even when you're striking, this is their mentality. And I've talked to you about this several times. When you're tired and you're on your reserve tank and without thinking, in combat sports, as in anything else, you go back to what you know. Right. You go back to what comes natural to you. So if you are a striker and you are always weary of someone coming at your knees to try and take you down, you're always ready to sprawl. Boxers don't have to worry about that. So they're more comfortable on their feet. They're comfortable getting closer to you. They're comfortable with their foot position. They're comfortable with the distance. And, I think that with him, if this is true, only sparring with strikers, then he's only going to be comfortable at a certain distance. Right. Which is what exactly? I mean, I think that, he's probably going to be comfortable. Like if you watch Conor, he likes to put that hand out and he likes to paw. Right. You don't see boxers do that so much, because sometimes when they're catching a punch, when they're catching a jab. But you'll see him, because he's used to being able to stretch out the fingers, you'll see him even sometimes grab someone's hand and then he'll shoot with the left hand. He'll shoot that left hand really fast. Or he'll paw with that hand as if he wants to jab you with it, and he'll hit you with like a really short jab. Like, just it's like I've been hit with that kind of punch before. It doesn't really hurt, but it keeps you at attention. And really, it's to set you up for the next punch. It's to blind you and set you up for the next punch. That's the distance that he's going to feel comfortable with. And we already know Floyd Mayweather's comfortable at any place in the ring.
All right. So I asked a bunch of you to send in your comments through the live stream. I'm going to be monitoring these all throughout. So, Sergey, I see your comment. I'm going to put it off until a little bit later in order to get our final predictions. But I'll get to the second part of your question, which is, what is the I believe this is, what is the difference in style, power, or speed? So style, we've gone over a little bit. Floyd has so many different angles. He has the Philly shell defense. He can hit you with a straight right and roll under your opposing. For Conor, it would be a right. He can roll any which way he possibly wants. For power,
Sergey asking what's the difference between Floyd Mayweather's style and Conor's style?
I believe so, yeah. So I went over Floyd's style, but like in terms of power, again, Floyd hasn't had a knockout since Victor Ortiz, which again I believe was 2012. He has a speed advantage, but I guess the only advantage Conor has is raw power, correct? To answer his question?
I would agree. I think that if I had to categorize what Floyd's style is, I would say he's a finesse boxer. And I know that that's not like, you have a boxer puncher, you have a puncher, you have a pure boxer. He's like a pure boxer, but he also has this very finesse style as it pertains to his defense. And it's a different defensive style that only a finite amount of boxers have. And so I put that finesse in front of his boxing style because he's the only boxer, this was years ago, so maybe there's another boxer like Rigo or, Rigondeaux or something like that where he went an entire 3 minutes without getting touched by his opponent at one point, and this was obviously much earlier on in his career. But
Rigo is safe to say, but Floyd has so much more offense than Rigo has.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about specifically defense, not offensive at all. But so I would say that he's a finesse boxer, and Conor, we don't really know what his boxing style is. But I would say if I had to categorize him, I would say he's a mixture between. On the night, we're going to see him implement two different styles. And that's the mixture between a boxer-puncher, pressure fighter. Because if you watch him in the UFC, he has no problem with walking forward, standing right in front of his guy, unless it's Nate Diaz at 170 pounds. He has no problem standing right in front of his fighter and his opponent, using his waist and his reflexes to get out of the way. Right. That's the boxer-puncher style. When he has you hurt, he walks you down, and that's the pressure style. So if I had to liken his style between the footage that I saw, the footage that I've seen of him in the UFC, I would think on the night he's going to look like a mixture between Robert the Ghost Guerrero and Marcos El Chino Maidana, Sergey, to answer your question as it pertains to styles.
I like that. Unbox Fix says, why is Mayweather taking himself down, saying he isn't the same fighter anymore? While, yeah, it's true there's no reason to voice this, does he think he may lose? For the latter, I think it's safe to say no. For the former, you can tell me if you disagree. It's to take the pressure off of himself, which I don't buy at all.
I think that, Floyd saying that he's not the same fighter that plays a dual role for him. I genuinely believe this. And like you said, we'll get into our official calls a little bit later, but I do think that he recognizes that he's not the same person. I think that he recognizes that, hey, I'm not the Floyd Mayweather who fought Canelo Alvarez. I'm not the same fighter who fought Marcos Maidana the first time. I'm going to see what I have on fight night. We've heard him say this before. It's going to be what it's going to be on fight night. I'm going to train to the best of my ability, and I'm going to see who I am on fight night. We've heard him say that before. So I think that he does have a little bit of question. Who am I going to be after 2 years of coming off, a layoff? And
you really believe that, though? Like, I just, In the words of Public Enemy, don't believe the hype. I don't believe it. I don't believe any of the shit that he's saying on that front alone, because we know that he's the best boxer that we've arguably ever seen. He's like, I mean, and I'm not giving a prediction, but considering his body of work, even at this tender age, because of the opponent that he is going up against, even not necessarily on his worst day, but on his second best day or third best day, knowing he's the kind of guy who throughout the years doesn't drink at the club. He drinks water. He's the kind of guy who stays in shape constantly. He is constantly eating well. He's constantly working out. He's constantly putting himself, essentially, while retiring, in this position in case something out of the blue, like a Conor McGregor, pops up, that he is going to be his best Floyd Mayweather on that night. That's why I don't buy it.
So to finish up, one, he's selling the fight, obviously. He's a salesman. And at this point, Stephen A. Smith and everyone has asked him countless times, you know, what do you think? He says, look, on the fight night, I'm going to be me, Conor McGregor, UFC, Showtime, Stephen Espinoza, Dana White, we're going to be the happiest people in the arena. Don't worry about nothing. We've heard him say that time and time again.
So many times.
But let me ask you this.
Hit me.
Who will win a fight between Jeff Horn and Conor McGregor?
Jeff Horn, because he's been boxing longer, is why I would give him the edge. But it would be closer than how any of the three judges scored the Pacquiao-Horn fight.
Right. That would be a war, right?
I'm sorry?
You think that would be a war? You think they would go?
I thought you said. I thought I heard like Andre Ward. I was like, huh?
No.
Yeah, it would be a war. Yeah, because Jeff Horn puts his hands down and Conor McGregor puts his hands down. So yeah.
Only reason why I bring Jeff Horn into this conversation is because Fight Hype interviewed Floyd Mayweather and asked him had he seen that fight. He said yes, and they asked him, "Do you fear that you could face the same fate?" And he said, "Listen, man, I'm a lot older. Pacquiao obviously is a lot older, and he thought that he was going to be somebody different on fight night, and shit kind of happens. And so he was like, at the end of the day, all you can do is prepare to the best of your ability, and what happens on fight night happens on fight night." I don't think that he thinks that he's going to lose, but I do think that he recognizes, listen, I'm going to have to be smarter because maybe my foot speed isn't as fast as it was before. The hand speed is still there. The reflexes may still be there, but these are things that fighters realize once they're in the ring. Ask Roy Jones Jr. The reason why Roy Jones is so difficult to still watch him fight is because he thinks that he still has the reflexes that he once did. And the reflexes are what made him such a great fighter. He was so dependent on his quick reflexes that once those reflexes went, he thinks that he still has them when he's in the gym. On fight night, things are different.
Same with Anderson Silva. Look at the fight against Chris Weidman. He put his hands down. Same with Nate Campbell. He put his hands down. There's so many of these fighters who get away. It's weird how a lot of the times the speed also comes with the cockiness. And the cockiness is sometimes a shield to prevent yourself mentally from knowing who you truly are. That's the heart of a champion and the heart of an athlete, but also the weakness at the very same time. And we've seen it with Roy, with Danny Green, who he got knocked out by, and a few others. We've seen it with Anderson Silva when he put his hands down against a younger, more powerful, somewhat polished as well at the time, Chris Weidman. Seen it with Nate Campbell. We've seen it with so many that unfortunately it gets in the way of who a fighter truly is, which is like a fine wine. Sometimes they're good with age, and sometimes they're terrible. Sometimes the corkscrew gets stuck in the bottle. Unfortunately, it's the latter for some.
Well, the longer I would say this, and then I definitely want to make sure we're answering Sergey's question.
Yeah.
But the longer and the more refined your technical skills are in the ring, the longer your career is going to last. I was just having this conversation with someone just the other day. A young man was asking me about boxing, and I was telling him the difference between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao is Manny Pacquiao's style is hugely dependent on his reflexes and his speed. And, it's a lot of movement and exertion. When you get older, you just don't have that in you. And if that's all you know, that's all you know. And on fight night, you're like, look, I'm going to bring to the table the tools that I've always brought.
Right.
reason why Bernard Hopkins outlasted Roy Jones, even though Roy Jones outclassed him in their first fight, was because Roy Jones's style was so built upon his reflexes. And Bernard Hopkins from day one was always about the technical aspect of the sweet science, keeping your hands up,
Yep.
moving your feet, getting out of the way. Like, he was so technical, down to people define him as the sweet science. And that's why he was able to, have such a high level output of quality fights in his older age, and Roy Jones just wasn't.
See, one of the best, you could say 5 of all time.
Bernard Hopkins?
Yeah.
Of all time?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a tough question, Rick. I don't even really want to get into that right now.
All right.
That's tough. Like,
let's think about it, and then we'll get back to it a little bit later. Or we can get back to it on
Let's answer some
the main
questions.
show. Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Yeah, I hope you answered your question. If not, like, just let us know, man. Like, sometimes me and Rick get lost.
Yeah, we get way lost. Okay, let's see. I know Sergey asked another one, but I want to try and get to more. So, Sergey, I'll come back to yours. Sean, fuck it, I'll say it. Sean, I hate Rick with a passion. He needs to be fired. He is not good enough to act as a footrest for Francis, let alone the great Jason. Sean, if you hate me, get the fuck off the live stream and go to bed. Eric says, McGregor won't make it all the way till the 12th round, just being honest. I don't want to get into predictions once again, but Eric, I appreciate your comment. Just try to send more questions, because I don't want us to give predictions yet. We're going to save it towards the end of the live stream. Did you want to say something, Britt? Eric
is he's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy. He's also savvy. Okay, here we go. Al says, I don't think it's an interesting matchup. Not now, at least. If Mayweather wins, it's because he's a 49-0 pro boxer fighting someone who isn't a boxer, let alone pro. And if McGregor wins, it's because Mayweather is old. Okay. A lot to take in. He says he doesn't think it's an interesting matchup. Yet my question back to Al and to many others, are you going to buy the fight because of the hype? Are you going to buy it because you hate Conor? Are you going to buy it because you like Floyd? Or are you just not going to buy it at all? I guess that's my question. But reacting to Al's point, he doesn't think it's an interesting matchup, not now at least. If not now, Britt, then when would it possibly be an interesting matchup? They're at the peaks. Well, Floyd was at the peak a few years ago. He's still the best. But Conor's at his peak right now. So I don't know when the best time would be for this matchup for Conor.
No, I think that if this fight didn't happen right now, it would have never happened. Floyd Mayweather was tied up with, Manny Pacquiao, as he should, many years ago. And if we would have ever seen a Conor McGregor fight before a Manny Pacquiao fight, that would have been truly disrespectful.
Oh yeah.
And to be honest with you, Conor McGregor's style wasn't refined enough. Maybe them fighting at 147 would have been a little bit more intriguing, just in the sense that Floyd Mayweather, I think his best weight is 147. He gives Conor McGregor an advantage going up to 154. So maybe it would have been more intriguing in that sense. But listen, like,
how big was Canelo on fight night?
How big was he?
Yeah. How big did he balloon up to?
Rough estimate. Rough estimate?
170?
He weighed in at 152. He
might have got up to 170. He looked big, man.
70. That's a big boy.
So that's a more technical boxer who ballooned up to 170 on fight night, who still was not polished to the point that he is now with his boxing skills, but still a way more polished fighter than a 170 that we're going to see with Conor, just to put it in a little bit of perspective here.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. But
that's
two different styles, though. So think about,
and a dog is on the live stream.
What's up, dude?
Hey, Carl. Carl just took a poop.
Oh.
So now he gets very happy when he comes back inside.
Not you, I hope.
Danielle is shaking her head like, no, it doesn't matter. Oh, no poop. Oh, okay. All right. You want to go back to mommy? Go ahead. Okay. So, anyways, So like the contrasting styles between Canelo ballooning up to 170 and Conor ballooning up to 170 is that I do believe that Conor, for as much power as he wants to pack in his punches, is going to be criminally slow. And it's like, it's going to be like when you're playing your nephew in Monopoly. Like, you just sort of know you're going to win, but you just want to play it out for it to be fun. That's how I see this fight going with Floyd and Conor.
Well, I think that Conor's not going to fight the same style of fight as Canelo Alvarez. Everyone knows Conor for being polished, a striker. He has good timing, and him being pretty accurate. And if you look at the footage late, he has the propensity, in boxing at least, because he's exerting different muscles, to fight a little bit more sloppy than we're used to seeing him in the UFC. So I don't think he's going to fight like a straight up, stand-up boxer puncher towards the end of the fight. I think that towards the end of the fight, we're going to more so see him fighting like a Marcos Maidana, where he's just, kind of winging punches from different angles. If you look at the punches he was landing on Paulie, they were pretty unorthodox punches, but they were effective. They were slapping, but they were landing. So those are technically scoring punches.
Is that the only thing that could be going in Conor's favor? Is that he's so unorthodox and you don't really have the book on him?
Oh, definitely. That's the intrigue here.
Yeah.
So listen, and we've talked about this before. When Floyd Mayweather fights a person, he doesn't say, I'm fighting Canelo Alvarez. This guy's big, strong. He's going to balloon up in weight. He says, I'm fighting a big boxer puncher with power. That's what he goes and prepares for. He doesn't say, I'm fighting, Manny Pacquiao, really fast, good reflexes, whatever. He says, I'm fighting a 5'6", darty, unorthodox southpaw with power, and I don't want to get hit with that left hand. If anything, I'll take the right hook, but I definitely don't want to get caught with that left straight. So that's what he prepares for. Until we saw that footage, he didn't know what to prepare for with Conor. So I honestly think that footage being leaked was more of a detriment to Conor than anything else. Because Floyd Mayweather has said this, and any boxer will tell you this. Anyone who's been in the ring for more than 4 rounds will tell you this. 4 rounds, everybody's strong. Everybody's tough. Everybody's a warrior. And everybody has a game plan up until 4 rounds. That's even why amateur fights start at 4-round fights. Because you're gonna see the best of that amateur fighter in 4 rounds. And that's why I think that in Conor's head, he knows, and why he said, I'm going to knock him out within 4 rounds.
He has to.
He has to.
Yep.
That's when he's going to be his sharpest. He knows what he's capable of doing. That's when he's going to be his sharpest. That's when his game plan is going to be, he's going to be able to really activate on his game plan and bring that into the ring. Once fatigue sets in, he's going to revert back to what he knows. And when you saw him tired fighting against Paulie Malignaggi, he was just getting off whatever punches that he could.
Right.
Now, out of shape, overweight Paulie Malignaggi, who's ineffective with the shoulder roll. That's one point. Ineffective with the shoulder roll against a southpaw. Those are the shots that he was able to land.
Right. And he was also slugging too. I mean, I know we talked about how he's so unorthodox, but it also went into him being, as you said, tired and just flailing at Paulie. Now, granted, he did land one really, really solid flush punch. It still came at the detriment to leaving himself wide open against a quicker defensive boxer like Floyd.
And the benefit that Floyd Mayweather has over most fighters that he's probably ever fought is that he's still sharp in the late rounds. He's sharper than them in the late rounds. As where they're tired and they start lunging with their punches and they start leaving their chin exposed. He's still crisp, and he sees everything.
Right.
And they don't even know what they're doing wrong until it's too late. Conor McGregor was lunging. He was sloppy. He was all over the place, but he was effective against Paulie. Paulie is not Floyd Mayweather. That's what we do know. And the second point, Floyd Mayweather rarely uses the shoulder roll against southpaws. So Paulie posturing with his elbow out like that, not even the way Floyd Mayweather uses the shoulder.
He protects his body.
He's so technical with it. He doesn't bring his shoulder. The shot, that flush left hand that Paulie got caught with, he was posturing, waiting to react to something, and his elbow was up in the air. Paulie's a great boxer, but I feel like because he was out of shape, we didn't see his best work.
Yeah, he was out of shape, and he was also trying to become a different fighter, as I stated previously, that he isn't, by mimicking a different fighter.
Anybody who's watching this live stream, if you have the Showtime subscription or if you have YouTube, go to Showtime Sports on YouTube, and I believe they still have it up. Floyd Mayweather versus Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Oh. He rarely used the shoulder roll. Or go back and watch his fight against Zab Judah. He rarely used the shoulder roll. He fought in a peekaboo orthodox style with his hands up to his temples because the shoulder roll is largely ineffective unless you just have the timing of your opponent down. The shoulder roll is largely ineffective orthodox versus southpaw. It only works versus orthodox and orthodox, or southpaw versus southpaw, because when you're orthodox and you're fighting a southpaw and you lean to the right, which you have the propensity to do, you're leaning right into that left power punch.
Right.
So unless you just have their timing down and you get under the punch before they can get it off, you don't want to use the shoulder roll against a southpaw.
By the way, him going to the 12th round is like, it's not only a given, but it's up there with death and taxes. Like, there are 3 guarantees: death, taxes, and Floyd Mayweather making it to a decision and not getting tired by the time the scorecards are read. It is a freaking given with everything he does. All right, let's see. Continue sending in your questions, guys. We're going to get to them all. This is actually really interesting. Machete says, who is more excited for Canelo versus GGG? That's going to be better than what y'all think. So I have to assume that he's contrasting styles between Canelo, GGG, and Floyd and Conor, which I completely agree with. Yeah. The hype is more... the hype is at a fever pitch for Conor and Floyd, yet it bears in comparison of the hype for Canelo and GGG when it is going to be the more sound, more technical, and by my guesstimation, way more entertaining fight than anything that Conor and Floyd can do, unless Conor somehow miraculously wins by like a 10th round knockout, which I don't think is going to happen.
Well, to Machete's point, I think that the announcement of Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor completely took the air out of the sails of Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin.
In a way, hasn't it taken the sales out of every other UFC fight as well? Aside from like Jones-Cormier, hasn't it taken the sales out of that?
Which didn't sell that well, pay-per-view wise.
Surprisingly.
But I think that what you see is when you have the biggest 2 names in both of these sports going on a collision course, you say, listen, forget everything else. Totally. This is what I want to watch. This is the main course, and everything else is an appetizer. So if I liken every other fight, you know, Adrian Broner, Mikey Garcia,
good fight.
John Jones versus Daniel Cormier as appetizers to Floyd. Oh, Terrence Crawford versus Julius Ndongo, and Lomachenko, who just recently fought a week ago.
Not a good fight, but I was entertained.
Not a good fight, but the name is what's supposed to draw you. If those are appetizers to the main course, which is Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, then the dessert portion of your meal is most certainly Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. And it's going to be a very, very good dessert. What I will tell people is if you are, I'm not going to tell you to buy either one. I'm a huge fight fan, so I say buy them both. This fight is definitely not getting the credit that it deserves. This is 100% UFC, boxing, all combat sports combined. I think the Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo Alvarez is fight of the year.
Now, I don't want to get into too many predictions for it, but just on the surface, I agree with you completely, and I also agree with Machete that it's going to be way, way better than anything that we will ever see. The Dano says, do they read comments? I'll let that speak for itself. Let's see, who else do we have? McGregor is going to do a takedown, says Soul Rebels. It's going to be some dirty elbows thrown by McGregor. McGregor will clinch a lot. And he has a few others. McGregor is going to clinch, and Mayweather is going to land several punches while McGregor tries to clinch.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and on, but that's the main point. I agree.
He's right, though. He's right, though.
Because you think it's going to get that dirty?
I mean, he doesn't have a choice but to make it a dirty fight. With Floyd Mayweather and Andre Ward are probably the best two fighters that I've seen, in my lifetime of making their opponent uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is not allowing them to fight at the distance where they're comfortable. So if you want to fight me at distance and I'm Floyd Mayweather, I'm going to fight you on the inside. And if you are a good inside fighter, I'm going to make you come chase me and fight me at distance. And so what Conor, it's incumbent upon him, if he really wants to have any kind of success in his fight, is to get close to Floyd. Because once he loses his sharpness, his speed is going to go with that. So he's going to have to be as close as he can to Floyd. And remember, in MMA, you're allowed to do a little bit of the dirty boxing. Sometimes they use their shoulders. Sometimes they can use elbows. They can use the dirty boxing on the inside. And I think that if he's going to be effective, especially late, that's where he's going to be effective. The only thing is Floyd Mayweather is an excellent defensive fighter on the inside and an excellent inside fighter. So he's going to have to break through that as well.
Right. So here's my thing, going back to something you just said about 30 seconds ago, and to the point that I just read about it getting super dirty. Conor McGregor has been a fighter who has trained MMA for so long. Now, look, I am not a fighter. I'm sure you could tell. I've never competed professionally. However, if you are training not only yourself, but also your mind, and for you to go into a fight using all these different tools in the toolbox with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and takedowns, yada, yada, and then you take all those tools out and you're just left with a hammer. The hammer, I guess, is a metaphor for just pure boxing skills. How do you, as an athlete, have this mental blockade of, okay, I can't use the screwdriver, and I can't use the drill, and I can't use XYZ, but the only thing I can use is the hammer? And once you get hit, as you said previously, and Mike Tyson had it, everybody has a game plan until they get hit in the mouth. How does an athlete, knowing that the payday is there, okay, and obviously the money is everything with both of these guys with this fight, or else it wouldn't have happened, but how do you mentally as an athlete train for so long? And I think Conor's like 27, somewhere from 26 to 28, something like that.
Yeah.
How exactly do you blockade yourself in a fight where you get hit and saying, oh, I want to throw wait, I can't throw a kick. Wait, I want to throw, no, I got to just box. Like, that is a mind fuck in and of itself that I don't think anybody's discussing too much.
Well, at the end of the day, he is a professional in the sense that he knows that he signed a contract. He knows that he'll get sued. I believe, I don't know if it was Steven Espinoza or
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that is a mental struggle that one fighter is going to have going into this fight, no matter how focused you are. You trained your body, you trained your mind, you trained everything to get to this point, and those respective skill sets got you to this point and essentially got you this fight. And now you're only left with one tool in the toolbox. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that is a mental blockade that he is going to have to get over, whether he admits it or not.
Yeah, 100%. But that's why he's had several months to train for this, and that's why it's in a boxing ring. I mean, what's fair is fair.
Totally. Alrighty. We have an OG. Jim Jones says, "Oh shit! Wait a minute. It just refreshed. Oh shit! Britton and Ricky." Am I in 2012 or 2013 again?
Jim Jones! What's up, baby?
Ballin'. Well done, Jim Jones. All right. This is good. X Chili says, Joe Rogan versus Dana White. Who you got? Joe, without a doubt. He's been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for
years.
For a long, long time. And Dana looks like he's in shape for his age, but Joe, by far.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Sketchy put under it Dana. And then Soul said, fear is not a factor. He said fear is not a factor, as in like the show that Joe Rogan used to. You know who's hosting it now?
Ooh.
Ludacris.
Next question.
It wasn't a question.
No, I'm just saying next.
It was a statement. No, I know. Let's see.
Shout out to Luda, man, making some money. I can't hate on that.
Seriously. Rebel DG13 Andrew, in my opinion, McGregor will have to knock him out in the first 3 rounds because he can't outbox Floyd, in my opinion. Obviously, you agree with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that he's given himself the round. He's a very strategic person, Conor McGregor, right? And some of the things that he said that I'm not necessarily a fan of, some of his lifestyle choices and the way he chooses to prepare for a fight, I do admire. I admire, one, his marketing ability. I admire his self-belief. And I admire how everything seems to be meticulously just on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so with him saying, I'm gonna knock him out within 4 rounds, and if we move the weight of the gloves from 10 ounces to 8 ounces, I'm gonna knock him out in 2 rounds. He's putting that number in his head. He's putting the number 4 and 2 in his head to say, Conor, get this shit done.
Do you really believe that? You don't think he's just shit talking?
No, I mean, yeah, he's obviously shit talking, but at the end of the day, it's like when Muhammad Ali would rhyme and he would say, what'd he say? Like, if he talks some more, I cut it to 4. It's like, and then you're giving yourself the round that you have to go and get that done in, right? Conor McGregor, I feel like he knows that after 4 rounds, it's not going to be much of the fight that he thinks.
I don't know, man. I disagree. I think he's just saying it to say it. Like, Conor has built himself up not only through winning, but also backing up the shit talk that he has going into every single fight, no matter what. So even though he could say, all right, I'm going to knock him out in 4, like, we're going to get to 5. And I just truly don't believe that Conor has a number in his head like, fuck, I got to knock him out in 4. Like, I just don't believe it. He's putting that number in people's heads for us to talk about it and for him to legitimize himself in the eyes of the fans that, like, I could do this, give me a chance. That's how I see it.
What was the number of the Warriors jersey that Conor McGregor wore?
23.
23?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I thought it was Draymond Green's number, and then Draymond went at him on Instagram like, don't you ever wear my jersey ever again. But really, it was trolling Floyd.
Right. I just wanted to see if it was like some correlation there. Now I'm obviously getting too deep, giving him too much credit. Let's get some more questions.
No, what were you thinking? Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking like what if the number was like 24 and he said he's going to knock him out in 2 and then he's going to knock him or knock him.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm getting way too deep.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's see. You know what's unfortunate is that and like I get it. Like, look, not everybody can afford to pay for the fight. Not everybody can even pay cover at a bar, which I'm sure is going to happen. I'm going to someone's house and watching it. So like I understand that, but there are a lot of people in the comments. I see Jeff. I see Soul is saying it. They're going to watch via stream. They're not supporting this gimmick. In your opinion, obviously not everybody's going to do it, but out of 100% of the pie of everybody watching, what percent do you think is going to, for lack of a better term, rise up against the spectacle, in air quotes, that is, and just not even pay for it?
Like if I had to give a percentage?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to try and give you a number because I don't really know statistics on that level.
Right.
But what I will say is this. The people who are going to stream it are the same people who will stream any other fight. They would stream UFC and they would stream boxing pay-per-views.
Right.
People who buy it largely, who are already fans of the sport, are the same people who would buy a pay-per-view regardless, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think that I think that what you will see is you'll see a large influx of people from MMA who will usually buy a pay-per-view who wouldn't pay attention to boxing You'll see those people. You'll see casual fans purchasing it. But I don't think that, like, if someone says, I'm not supporting this, and this is not, like shots fired at anybody, but you probably aren't a proponent of buying pay-per-views or paying for pay-per-views anyway. Like, you're probably the person that will go to a friend's house and watch it, or you'll catch it the next week for free.
Or you'll stream it on your phone.
Or you'll stream it, like on Facebook Live or something like that. Like, so I don't think that we're going to see this large upheaval of people who are just like, this is a spectacle. I'm not paying for it. I don't think we're going to necessarily.
So because they view it as a gimmick, or is it because the price is just really high? It's $100 for HD pay-per-view.
Yeah, I understand that. But, I mean, everybody that I've been speaking to, I speak to people about, you guys have no, I speak to people about boxing every single day.
All day, every day.
The people who I'm talking to, they're either, I'm getting the lay of the land. Either they pay for pay-per-view or they don't. So whether it was a $59 pay-per-view, $69, $79, or $100, they were still going to go and pay for it.
Right.
If they weren't, then they were going to go watch it at a bar or at a friend's place, or, I really don't care that much. I'm probably just going to see what happened and have a conversation. I know a lot of people who are perfectly fine with just getting highlights on Instagram or Twitter and then saying, hey, yeah, let's talk about the fight.
Right. Like, that's such a shitty quality. like not I'm not saying they're a shitty person for doing it. I'm saying just like watching on your phone, or like watching a fuzzy picture, like
yeah. But that's because me and you we're really enthusiasts of this sport. Like, totally. I could watch another sport on my phone, or just watch highlights and be like, oh, well, okay, well, whatever, such and such one, or
right.
and I really wouldn't care that much. But combat sports, particularly boxing, I have to be glued to a television, and I'm the kind of person
who likes to watch alone.
I don't care if I'm watching it all by myself. I will order food out, or my girlfriend will cook, and she and I will sit on the couch and we'll watch boxing.
Yeah. Oh, like, agree completely. I'd rather watch by myself. I've said this about many, like, Chicago Blackhawks games and Bears games and Bulls games, like the playoffs. I'd rather watch by myself. I don't want to hear, like, screaming idiots in the bar telling me stuff that I already know, or just uninformed opinions.
Right.
What was the last one I watched? It was on pay-per-view. It was Andre Ward's Sergey Kovalev 2, and I couldn't get it. So I went to a bar, and it was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had. Not to deter anybody from going, but what I think everybody should do, pro tip, is watch it at somebody's house, order it, and everybody get a bunch of people, and everybody pays $10 or $5.
Party.
Yeah.
Make it a party.
And then we're all having a good time.
Bring the tequila, bring the beer, preferably Casamigos. Somebody order a pizza, and make it a party.
Daniela's good friend works at Casamigos.
We got the plug.
Yeah, exactly. Bobby Peru says Paulie's a C fighter now.
Good point.
Is it?
I think that's an excellent point, especially in the time that he fought Conor. Listen, he lost by knockout in his last fight, retired 6 months ago, came into Conor's training camp off of 6 months of, eating and doing media work, not boxing or working out at all.
Right.
Went straight into the training camp, severely overweight, undertrained, and fought with a peak Conor McGregor, just turning 28 years old, physical specimen, cutting down from 170 plus pounds, much bigger than him, in better physical condition. And think about it. He just got knocked out by Eggington. He got knocked out by Danny Garcia. He got knocked out by Sean Porter. I mean, I think it's safe to say, and this is not a knock on Paulie Malignaggi. He's a two-time world champion. Very decorated, great boxing mind, but he admitted it. His IQ was raising. His physical capability was decreasing.
Right.
If you're, he wasn't a B-level fighter. I know B-level welterweights that would beat him. Like, in my opinion.
In his prime, what was he?
In his prime, he was probably a B-plus fighter.
That's what I was
because
thinking.
He didn't have power. You know who said something, made a comment about Paulie that he didn't like, and I'll rehash it. This is
aside from Conor.
Aside from Conor, someone that me and you had the pleasure of meeting and having a great boxing conversation was
Brother
Brother Nazim.
Nazim.
Brother Nazim said if Paulie Malignaggi could punch his way out of a wet paper bag, he would be one of the greatest boxers probably to ever live.
I completely agree.
He was supremely smart. He was slick. He had one of the best jabs in his day, but he just never had that power.
He never had power. He never
had power to keep fighters off of him. Think about it like this. Think.
Wait, hang on, Britt. Hang on. The stream just froze for a second. You there?
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Okay, go ahead.
You see my Millie Rock?
Yeah, it's not that great, but it's better than Tupac doing it in a movie. It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, my point is, I agree with Brother Nazim. Had Paulie Malignaggi had any, adequate power, he would have been a supreme level boxer. But I think that he kind of plateaued at a B level to B plus level boxer because he just never had that power. If he had power to keep Ricky Hatton and Miguel Cotto off of him in those fights, we may have seen something a little bit different in those fights.
You know how many? Okay, so out of 36 wins, you want to give me a guess on how many wins by KO he had?
Not more than 12.
No.
8.
7.
Okay.
He had more losses than he had knockouts.
How many losses does Paulie have?
8.
Wow.
8 losses to 7 knockouts. So I agree with Nazim. If he had
Sean, Danny Garcia, Eggington, Amir Khan, Ricky Hatton. I guess we don't have to go through the whole list. Yeah. We don't have to go through the whole list. Let's get some more.
Well, now I'm curious. Let's see. Eggington, Garcia, Porter, Broner, Khan, Diaz, Hatton, Cotto.
Got it.
There's your list. All right. Let's see who else. Jeff says this stream needs more views. Yes.
Yo, Jeff, do us a favor. Can you click the thumbs up button or something and share it?
Everybody, if you can, please give us a thumbs up.
Except for that guy who hates you, because he's not doing us any favor.
I give a fuck. Let's see. Soul says share the stream, which of course we agree with as well.
Oh, we appreciate you, brother.
T Love Hater says, "Yo, Ricky, don't act like Mayweather ain't gonna fuck McGregor up." If anybody has seen any of the clips that I have done on this channel, they know where I stand. I think McGregor wins a round. Not to get too heavy into predictions, but just answering his question. A round. So I think that tells you a little bit. Dakota says, if Mayweather can make it out of the first half of the fight, there's no way McGregor can win. If he doesn't KO early, it's over. I capitalized, hate Mayweather, but he is an amazing boxer. So if it goes 12, it's done. Which of course we both agree with as well, correct?
Yeah. I don't think first half. I think that if he doesn't overwhelm Floyd and knock him out within 4 rounds, I'm struggling to give him maybe 5. If he doesn't separate Floyd from his senses, make him extremely uncomfortable, jump on him from round number 1 and say, F everything, forget me trying to be conditioned. He has to, from round 1, run across the ring, jump on Floyd and overwhelm him. Push him into a corner and just unload shots on him. I don't think he can, because he's a fighter. You watch him try and compose himself in between rounds. It's all about recovery. He's very mindful of these things. Marcos Maidana put himself in a different mindset in that first fight. In the first fight, he said, I'm willing to die for this fight. I'm going to throw 100 punches around. He trained to throw 100 punches around. From round number 1, the very first punch you saw him throw was an overhand right, and until the last bell, he scratched and he clawed to get upwards of 100 punches per round. That's not Conor McGregor's game. Conor McGregor is not he's not Marcos Maidana. He's not effective with those kind of punches. His power doesn't come from looping overhands and wide left hook. His power comes from straight punches, straight jabs, being very accurate. And so if he tries to fight in a style that's not his own, he's going to gas out sooner. So I think that, like I said, from the jump, he has to try and jump on Floyd, make him extremely uncomfortable, and he has to separate him from his senses early. Second or third round, he has to not knock him down, but clip him with something that wobbles his legs, the way that Marcos Maidana did Adrian Broner in the second round. He was never able to recover from that left hook that he caught in the second round because, one, he was still a little dry. It was early enough in the fight that he caught Broner a little dry, and he never got his legs back under him, and Marcos Maidana was an animal. He said, I'm not letting you recover.
Right.
So if McGregor can't do that, he doesn't stand a chance.
I don't know if McGregor can fight in the phone booth the same way that a lot of the fighters you mentioned did as well. I don't know if he understands the nuances to fighting, and not. The fact is, Floyd is 49-0 for a reason. So there's not many that can, if Floyd chooses, it's his choice to fight in the phone booth, if they can go after him and also succeed against him. Because there's so many nuances that I think Conor doesn't know yet, that Floyd already has been seasoned to know.
And that's such a great point. I think that you have to have a certain IQ and a certain level of experience, certain amount of years under your belt to compete with Floyd Mayweather in the ring in the way that Conor McGregor thinks that he's going to be able to.
Right.
I'll give you another example, just referring back to Marcos Maidana.
Yeah.
Go back and watch some of the shots that Floyd landed while they were in the clinches. When he had Floyd's back against the ropes, Floyd was landing some hellacious body shots, hellacious uppercuts, hellacious left hooks, and Marcos Maidana was going nowhere because, number one, he knew what to expect to a degree because he's a boxer. He knew this is what I'm going to have to get through to win this fight. Conor McGregor gets hit with those same body shots, he's taking a knee. He gets hit with those.
You really think so? Even though he's so much bigger than Floyd, so much thicker than Floyd, you don't think his body can hold up?
So was Marcos Maidana. So was Canelo.
I understand. Canelo didn't go anywhere. It's also a little bit different. Like, you got to be fair to Canelo. Is that we know Canelo's going to tire when? Rounds 5, 6, and 7. Every single fight, he's always going to tire. So even with the shots that Floyd landed, and it wasn't ad nauseum that he kept landing punch after punch after punch on Canelo. He just got completely outboxed, and Canelo just got tired because that's always what happens with him. With Conor, and the reason I'm asking it is because even with the shots that landed against Maidana, he took them well, but in not going with the terms of, okay, he's a boxer and Maidana's a boxer and yada yada, and he took the punches well. I think Conor can take the punches. I don't think he can take the straight punches to his head, to his chin. I think he could take a few body shots for 4, 5, 6 rounds, and then they might wear on him, but not inside of 4.
Have you ever seen Conor McGregor take a body shot?
Yeah, he took plenty against Chad Money Mendez, and that's all. Okay. That was also a stand-up fight too.
Good point. I mean, I can't recollect, and I would never try.
By the way, great fight.
I would never try and not give him credit if he did. But I think
not like this, but I mean, he did. He's taken body shots.
I think that Chad Money Mendez and Floyd Money Mayweather are two different calibers of fighters. I think Floyd knows where he's hitting you, when he's hitting you there. For example, there was a video of one of Floyd's sparring partners, young guy, good shape. And he was saying that Floyd landed a body shot on him in the 6th round of their 8 rounds of sparring, that he had to take a knee, and he didn't realize he had to take a knee till several seconds after he got hit with the shot. And he said he noticed that Floyd would lean.
That this year?
That was this year. He's helping Floyd prepare for this fight. And he said that he would notice that Floyd was kind of like looking for the shot, but he was like, the shot is there, but I'm not taking it. He didn't take the shot until the 6th round when he knew that he was tired. And so that shows you that Floyd is always thinking. He sees the shot, but he may not let you know that the shot is there. So he'll let you keep making the same mistake until you're good and tired. And then once you're huffing and puffing, or once he sees you lunging, then he's gonna dig around that elbow into the ribs. And then at that point, you can't do anything about it.
So is that the strategy for Floyd? It's just to wear Conor down as much as he possibly can, knowing that Floyd is used to, at most, if you consider the minutes in between, he's used to 30 minutes, and this could be at least 36?
Look, Floyd Mayweather is very calculated. Me and you both know this. And once we get this, I want to move on because I want to make sure we get to the questions. Mm-hmm. Floyd says that he's going to go to Conor. He says he's going to walk Conor down. He says he's going to meet him in the middle of the ring. When he says that, everybody gets excited and they say, "Oh man, well Conor has a chance to knock him out." What Floyd means by that is, I'm going to outbox him. I'm going to let him wear himself out for 3 to 4 rounds. I'm going to outbox him for 2 to 3 rounds. And once I see he gets tired in 6, 7, 8, then I'm going to start going to him. Then I'm going to start pressuring him. You've never known Floyd to just go to somebody and have a war with them in his later years. Pretty boy Floyd, you've seen him do it a few times. Floyd Money Mayweather, way too calculated, way too aware of what he can and can't do at this point in his career. Mm-hmm. He's too smart. So I anticipate the 6, 7, 8, you'll see Floyd start to come on, and you'll see him start to dig to the body. He's going to be landing that jab to the body. He's going to be trying to, poke holes in Conor, and then late, he's going to sit down on some punches.
All right, here's the last question, because it's almost midnight my time. So last question, then we're going to sign off. Anthony asks us, considering all that's been said, is this a fight worth watching? Are we going to be talking about this in 5, 10 years? It's a really good question. It'll be talked about because of the history of it with 2 sports colliding into one, and also, in my opinion, and I know you feel the same way, of Floyd going for 50-0. So it's the cherry on top, the historical nature of an MMA fighter going up against literally one of the best to do it in the sweet science, and then also getting to a record-breaking mark of 50-0. So there's a lot of storylines to it that this could be talked about, but I guess if it's a sham, then it will be a disrespectful 50-0 moniker.
So, Anthony, in my opinion, to answer your question, I think that it depends on your vantage point or where you sit as a boxing enthusiast. If you are a boxing enthusiast and you love the sport and you feel like our sport can use some publicity, then you'll think that this is a good thing. Because one, you're going to have millions upon millions of international eyeballs on the sport on one given night. You have one man who has been known to be, or arguably TBE, the best ever, he calls himself. And you have another guy who's the ultimate villain in the eyes of so many people. You get to see this man go for 50-0 at 40 years old, which is something that, regardless of how you feel about him outside of the ring, his accomplishments inside of the ring, you can applaud, especially at 40 years old. If you are, someone who's somewhat cynical in this, and I'm not, if you are feeling a way about the fight, I'm not saying that you are cynical, but if you are a cynic, then sure, your stance is going to be, well, why that guy? And my question to everybody has been, why not? Who else? If you saw him if you saw Floyd Mayweather fight against Keith Thurman, 9 times out of 10, you're going to say he wins by unanimous decision. If you saw him fight Danny Garcia when Danny was still undefeated, you would say 9 times out of 10, Floyd Mayweather by unanimous decision. If you saw him fight Manny Pacquiao again, you say 9 times out of 10, he wins by unanimous decision. And at that point, Errol Spence is way too young to be in the ring with Floyd. Why not go grab someone from another sport where you can essentially be doing the sport of boxing a favor by bringing some crossover fandom, and you may not retain 100% of that millennial, man between the age of 18 and 35 who loves MMA, who loves the UFC, who looks at the UFC as a lifestyle. Right. You may not retain 100%, but even if you retain 20% of that fan and they stick around and they say, you know what? I'm going to watch more Showtime. I'm going to watch more HBO. I'm going to watch more ESPN. I'm going to buy pay-per-view. That helps the sport of boxing.
But the big thing is, will it help? Because I don't know if it will. Because Floyd's style is not for everybody. It is for the diehards. It is for the people who appreciate shoulder rolls and tactical 12-round demolitions.
But Rick, that's why I said it depends on your lens and it depends on where you sit. Because if you can accomplish, if you don't mind celebrating greatness and you don't mind celebrating, you know what, that man is 40 years old and he's going to get his 50th win, possibly. Highly favored to get his 50th win at 40 years old, make upwards of $300 million, something that's never been done in the sport of boxing before. He's breaking records, counting checks. That's something to applaud in my eyes. And I don't want to sound like a Floyd apologist at all, because really, over any fighter, I love the sport of boxing. And so what I love and appreciate about August 26th is that the world largely is going to stand still to watch my favorite sport. I have friends who don't know anything about boxing, who've been texting me for months asking me what I think about this fight, and they're asking me where we're going to watch the fight. And that excites me, because usually these are people who wouldn't even care if it was another fight. And now they're like, should we be going to Vegas?
Right.
Should we come to your place? Where are we going to watch the fight? And I'm like, bro, like,
should I bring the Casamigos?
Should I bring the Casamigos? And so for me, the world is sitting still to watch my sport. So Anthony, sorry, like I have a propensity to be long-winded when it comes to boxing. It just depends on where you sit, and it depends on your vantage point. If you are a fan of the sweet science, and I think you should be appreciative that so many eyeballs are going to be on our sport, and we're going to see somebody accomplish. We're going to see one of those two guys are going to accomplish. They're going to break a record.
Historic. Yes.
Something historic is going to happen.
Yes.
Either Floyd Mayweather sails off into the sun with his 50th victory at 40 years old, or Conor McGregor becomes the new face of boxing. And I think that that's enough to appreciate that one night.
The great thing is, this is the beginning of many. Not necessarily for the sport, but for our live streams. Jason and I have done 2, but in terms of Mayweather and McGregor, we are going to be doing many, many more. Britton is back in the fold, and he's going to be covering it with us like crazy leading up to the fight, and also on Fight Night, where we're going to be doing a pre-fight live stream where all of you, I hope, are going to be tuning in, setting in your questions, and then also post-fight. So we are going to continually do these live streams. Please continue to give us a thumbs up, continue to write your comments, continue to share them on all social media platforms, helping us stay independent with our opinions and also just as independent media. So for that, we truly appreciate it. Brother B, I'll be talking to you. We'll have many, many more live streams, as I said, as well. And just to recap, pre-fight the night of, post-fight the night of, me, Britton Harden, and Jason Rubin are going to be on the panel here on the channel. So please stay tuned for that. Britton, thank you so much, bro.
My man, have a good night. Everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.